When I started my career in tech, I often find myself in rooms that I was the only woman. And sometimes, if not more than sometimes, I was the youngest person there. And it was very, very intimidating, especially as a young software engineer. But it also pushed me to prove myself and to prove others that I belonged. And that's why this week's episode really resonates with me. So hi everyone, and welcome to From a Woman to a Leader, a podcast dedicated to discussing women's unique challenges in the tech industry. I'm your host, Limor Bergman-Gross, and today I'm very happy to welcome Ivana Nikolik to the podcast. Fun fact, Ivana and I met in the Female Factor event in Vienna in September. And after the event, we talked, and I was very impressed by her background. And her story is a story of courage, resilience, and breaking barriers. She started her career as a young woman in Macedonia. She worked in very male-dominated spaces with men much older than her, and did extraordinary things like building relationships with the international companies to bring investments to her country, Macedonia. I think her bravery and determination reminds me of my own kind of challenges and successes, paving my own path. And in this episode, Ivana shares how she built her confidence, how she pursued continuous learning, and rose to become one of Europe's 40 under 40 top business leaders. And her journey is really packed with a lot of insights, inspiration for anyone looking to break barriers and thrive in their career. So if you're ambitious and maybe you don't know how to push forward, I think this episode will inspire you and will give you some, not just inspiration, but some courage. So I definitely recommend you to tune in. So are you ready? Let's dive right in. Hi, Ivana. How are you?
Hi, Limor. Good to see you again. Wonderful. Wonderful. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's great to see you again. And I'm so happy to have you here. And
likewise, thank you very much for the invitation. It's my great pleasure and honor. Thank you.
Absolutely, for sure. And before we dive in, I wanted to ask you a little bit just about your background. I know that you started in Macedonia and you had a path that is not very, I would say, not very traditional, especially for young women. So I would love if you can share a little bit kind of how you got to working for the Macedonian government and doing things that seemed to me like for a 20-something-year-old terrifying, like starting to build relationship with international companies. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's always interesting to share how I started my career, but I will go first within my family and where I'm coming from. Very modest but humble, hardworking family. Both of my parents always were saying to myself and my sister, you should work hard, you should earn it. So we're gonna support you whatever you choose along your path and career and your life, but it's up to you. You should make your own decisions, whatever you like to study, whatever you like to work tomorrow. But it's absolutely, we are here to morally and financially support you. But it's important first to stand up and work hard. So and both of them are, thanks God, still alive and still humble and modest person. So I'm so grateful to have that values nurtured within very young kid. But I was always a curious and ambitious kid, and since I remember, and with a competitive spirit, and I always wanted to lead. So whether, if you ask me, whether you have it or you don't have it. So it's not important to be appointed as a manager or as a leader of a team or Ada, again, you have it or not. Not every manager is a leader. So since I remember, I was the best. I was first a president in primary school in first grade. Then I was the best student in primary school, the best student in generation in high school, and but I was always having that dream that I want to have an international career. And I remember I was, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years old kid. I was having that vision in my head, and I was telling to my parents, Mom, I want to travel the world business wise with a suitcase or now with a laptop. So bringing my work, having meetings internationally with foreign companies, and thrive as a woman. I was not sure in which industry at that time, but I could see myself having that career path. So again, I was lucky again to have such a surrounding, supportive surrounding, but as well as to have that personality always. And just in contrary, where some parents could stop you, in my case, were just support you and giving wind in my back to continue with my ambition, to just fulfill my will, my dream. And yes, I just to say, to mention that while having those achievements, primary, high school, I was also leading my basketball team. I started playing basketball. So that doesn't matter in which field I was. I wanted to be first, to somehow compete and win, and lead, organize my team. So again, the day came to decide in which faculty, which college to enroll. And being the best of the best students, my parents were directing me, okay, you can do medicine, you can do law, you can do a faculty of economics. But again, it's up to you. We are not going to force you. We're going to support you whatever you decide. And I can recall that it was so difficult for me to decide because I don't know, I could have go and enroll to any university because of my grades and everything. And I believe it was crucial. And just recently, I recall this. I could have somehow forgotten that I was fourth year at high school when there was, and it was, I was raised in a PC era or internet era. So early 90s, it was like every child started to have their own computer PC at home, and my parents couldn't afford that. So I remember that during my high school days, I was going either before or after classes in an internet cafe and spending time on an internet, right? I started to have my email address and how to prepare my CV and everything, the basics, the basics. And that got my attention. And when I was the last year at high school, one of the professors announced that there will be some kind of international online competition when it comes to business cases, simulations. It's very similar to the Apprentice show of Trump. You can
Mm-hmm.
recall. And I got so interested and excited about it. How can I enroll? Okay, I got part of it. It was on a European level. And again, before, after classes, I was going there. I was doing the business cases, how to sell a pen, how to, which price to put it on a timeline, time frame, what will be the expense around it, etc. So really, really the basics. And it was very, very much interesting to me. And I won. I won. Actually, we were divided in the groups, and my group won. And I got awarded. I've been to Switzerland, and we gathered all the winners in Europe. So it was actually somehow a confirmation to me that Ivana, you can do great in business. So it was a confirmation to me that I want to learn, study economics. And again, I was so lucky that that time it was the first year that a new department was announced at as part of the Faculty of Economics, electronic business. So it was a combination of economy, right? Uh, we were studying and learning and having exams in English, and we were having personal computers. So it was a great combo for everything I wanted to have during my studies. So I immediately made a decision, and I never regret it, to be honest. And again, one of the best students after 3.5 years, and actually, because thousands of students were enrolling and finishing the colleges in Macedonia at that time, and there was a huge competition. So youngsters were afraid, how will I get a job? Because the unemployment rate was huge, 30%. So we were the ones that we finished e-business department and Faculty of Economics. We were lucky, and we had that competitive edge or competitive advantage. So I literally could choose whether and where I would like to start my career. But why I choose government of Macedonia, and particularly foreign direct investments department? Because again, I saw myself having that international career, having a conversation, negotiating with foreign companies that we were trying to convince them to come and do business in Macedonia, either by opening a new manufacturing plant or a branch office. And that was, again, boom, what I wanted to have. In contrary, I was never into politics. My family or surrounding was never into politics. And first question I asked to, because one of the professors recommended the best students to the minister for foreign direct investments that came from Microsoft in Macedonian guy that came from Microsoft in Silicon Valley, to take this responsibility, being a minister for foreign direct investments. I said to my teacher, apologies, but I don't have a political background. I'm not gonna take this because I know how it is in Macedonia and Balkan region back then. I believe still it is. Most of the positions you need to have your background. And she said, no, guys, please, no worries. This minister is coming from a business side, so he really values young, ambitious, and students that really have a business mindset and that can fluently speak English. And that's how I started, and the rest is history. I can say more,
Yeah,
because I
that's
started in the lowest position, and I always say that whenever, or it doesn't matter for which employer or in which working environment I was enrolled, I always work like for my own company or my own business, giving maximum of my energy, my courage, I would say, my mindset, knowledge, and I was always stepping up.
yeah. And I think that there are a lot of lessons here to learn from your story. So first of all, I mean, kudos for you that you knew what you wanted. I didn't know what I wanted, and so many. I think people in their 20s, they're not exactly sure what they want. I think this is okay. You don't have to have all the answers, and take it one day at a time. But what I hear from you is like, okay, just be good at what you do, and always work on developing yourself, and
Absolutely.
not being afraid, right? Not being afraid to step into areas where you're not exactly sure.
Hmm.
Exact like
Hmm.
you mentioned, right? I mean,
Yes, you are never
you
ready.
didn't
You are
come
never
from
100% ready, right?
exactly. You're never 100% ready. You don't always have all the answers, and you just kind of say, okay, I'll figure that out, and
Yeah,
and and
along the way,
stepped into
the
yeah, stepped
unknown.
into unknown territories. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I mentioned the courage, the bravery that I always had. Of course, I was afraid. Of course, I was shaking sometimes. But it again, once you do that, the next time you feel more comfortable. The third time you feel even more comfortable, and then you're
For sure.
yes, you're thriving somehow. And yeah, I know that when we spoke with you the first time, and not only with you, when I share my story and how I started my career within the Macedonian government, being part of the economic team, really the first economic team of the government, you can imagine, male dominated team,
Hmm.
50 plus years old. Really, what you see in most every government around the world is the same in Macedonia. But and I was 20ish, right? 20ish, yeah,
Yeah.
years old, a young girl, good looking, ambitious, and the underestimations were there from the day one. How I was scaling up the ladder, somehow I I was feeling, and again, it's a feeling, but you can notice from their reactions, from their actions. And I know that it was not always easy to me to swallow that, because I always know that I'm capable. If not, I will learn it. I will, instead of maybe if an experienced person need 1 hour, I will dedicate 5 hours of my time or 5 days to be ready, to be prepared for that meeting, for that presentation, for that next step. And I remember it was not always easy to me. And after it was around 10 years of experience in the governmental institutions. And I said, one day, when I will, most probably when I will retire myself, I will write a book, an autobiography, and I will just share in details all those situations, all those challenges, all those feelings that I had and how I felt in those situations, just for the rest of the world and for the young generations to know. But I remember going back at my home and asking my parents why I'm 25, 20 years old, and those are 50 plus. Why they see me as a threat? Why? I cannot understand that. I was on a very lower position, advisor or senior advisor. I was step by step going up the ladder. Um, and those were ministers, right? And I remember my mother answered, because you're capable, because they're afraid that maybe you can take tomorrow their position. So, and after that, I realized that when actually, again, stepping up the ladder, I was appointed as a chief of cabinet for foreign direct investments. I was leading my team. After that, I was appointed as a deputy CEO of the Agency for Foreign Direct Investments and Export Promotion of Macedonia. And then I became CEO around 30 years old. I was leading an international, around 100 people of economic promoters that we had in our embassies around the world. And along with that, I was appointed to 4 or 5 board institutions. So as a member of the supervisory board, either it was a power plant or power electricity institution, telecom operator, T-Mobile or T-Home in Macedonia was part of the Deutsche Telekom group, or Macedonian Film Agency. So you see more different sectors, different industries. And you can imagine that I didn't know anything maybe from the electricity um, happenings in Macedonia, but I was learning and studying hard. I was aware that I need to sit and understand and learn. So to be comfortable and thrive on those meetings, for example, the legislation and the regulation within this field, film agency as well, telecom um, operator. So again, and I was never sitting there and just raising hands and voting. No, I was always, if I'm a good listener. I'm not a talkative person, even today on those meetings. If I say something, I that is with with facts, with arguments, and with a thorough explanation. But behind that, I'm always preparing myself. Just a couple of days ago, an interesting a friend of mine, ex manager of Netflix, uh, he had a nice post on LinkedIn when it comparing what it really means, and it was a post from Alex Hormozy, what it really means to prepare, that you will stand up and stood up from the surrounding if you only focus at least 20 minutes of your time before an important meeting, before an important discussion, before a keynote presentation. So personal individual preparations is what I still do, even today, with such a self-confidence, with such a experience that I have within my 17-year career so far.
Yeah, and absolutely agree with that. So, for the listeners out there, I mean, obviously, from your story, Ivana, I want to emphasize that, and this is something that I tell also my clients.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, no one can stop you but yourself, and you can do anything you wish. I think
Absolutely.
the challenge is for many women is how do you get the confidence? Because obviously, it seems like you, from young age, had confidence and resiliency, and you're very ambitious, and you were able to push yourself forward, both in the school years and also later on, when you started, your career. Obviously, it was a very challenging environment, I'm sure,
Yes.
being surrounded with male that are much older than you, and I'm sure that there were some not easy situations.
Absolutely.
How do you gain the confidence? How do you not let those instances
Mm-hmm.
break you
Mm-hmm.
and doubt yourself?
Yeah, great question. And I would disagree with you a little more. Yes, I didn't have the conference for always or since the very young
Okay.
ages. It was building up. Actually, if I can make a correlation, comparison, what I am today and how I was feeling when I was starting, not only in at the beginning of my career professionally, but as well as at school or I don't know, playing basketball. Uh, you don't have that confidence from the very beginning, from the scratch. I believe with again hard work, with a lot of readings, with which I'm doing even today, uh, continuous learning, but not solely or primarily a conventional way of learning, formal learning, but constantly reading, being ahead of, as I said, with a thorough analysis, preparation, practicing uh, before coming on an interview, before going on a meeting, before having a presentation. I'm practicing, and still even today. Of course, a shorter period of time. As I said, maybe I need days to prepare myself 10 to 15 years ago. Now I need minutes or hours. But again, the moral support and continuous support that I had from my families, and I still have, and loved ones, and somehow I always knew or always seeing myself where I wanted to be. I was always seeing myself on the other side of the bridge. If I start here, I'm seeing myself there. How should I get there? I need to swim. I need to walk. I need to run. And sports absolutely helped me a lot. Uh, I love sports. Back then, I started, and basketball is my first love. But having that, I would say, endurance when it comes to physical trainings, but as well as working nightly hours. Again, I will come back to Macedonia and government days. There was no time frame or working hours for me. Literally, we were having meetings 11 p.m. I was responding to emails 3 a.m. if I wake up during my sleep. So it was always like I'm there. I'm there. And because it was not a possibility or opportunity only for me. as I mentioned, around 10 people we were appointed, or from the as the best students from the faculty, and somehow it was only me that I stood up and continued, and just uh, became the or got the highest positions. Still, my age person are still there in the government, and they're still on the same level. So it's about the ambition, it's about the support, but most importantly, it's about the hard work that I'm even today putting. And again, to be brave, to not be afraid. There were difficult situations, as you said, that somehow maybe disappointed me many times, to re-questioning myself whether this is for me or not, whether I should take or move to more, how to say, not so challenging working atmospheres, because I had opportunity to do that. I had a chance to work in a bank, but it was not enough dynamic for me. So I always wanted challenges. And even today, if I don't have a challenges, because if you ask me, with challenges you grow. Otherwise, if you have a steady uh, work path or career path, you will not grow. You will stay
Hmm.
as is, where you are at the moment. But to thrive, you need to overcome obstacles. And with that, you can do only personally, with your mindset, with your knowledge, with your effort, with your energy. And then you will become wiser, stronger, and uh, I would say even more prepared for the next challenge that will come along the way.
Yeah, so I'll summarize. I mean, all the wisdom that you shared, I think that visualizing yourself where you want to go. I truly believe in visualization and kind of thinking about what are your goals, even if they're very ambitious and even if they're long
Hmm.
term, but kind of seeing yourself in your head getting there. And then combining that ambition with hard work, upskilling, always challenging yourself, always experimenting things you haven't done before,
Yes.
being brave and experimenting things, always evolving and learning, right? I mean, when you do something today that is scary, tomorrow it's going to be
Easy.
less scary. Or I
Yeah.
don't know if easy, but I don't know, less
Less
scary.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that with a support group, like you mentioned, like your parents or any people in your life, both people you pay or people like friends, family, whatever, colleagues that support you in times where you doubt yourself, when maybe you feel down, maybe you need someone to encourage you.
Yeah.
All
Actually,
that combination together.
yes.
And you mentioned books. So
Uh-huh.
I want to
Uh-huh.
recommend a book. I actually read this book several years ago, and I immediately after finishing it, I gave it to my oldest daughter. It's called Grit
Hmm.
by Angela Duckworth. I don't know if you read it.
No, but thanks for
Uh,
recommendation. I love to read books.
yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate.
yeah. And Grit talks about, I mean, Angela talks about in this book about how she did a lot of research in schools. How
Hmm.
about like being smart, having like the basic skills
Hmm.
is not going to predict if you're going to be successful or not. It's all about what you mentioned about grit, right? That you
Yes.
have
Yes.
being ambitious and willing to do the work and being resilient.
Absolutely. Persistent, resilient, dedicated. Yes. To your
Yeah, for
goal.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
for the book recommendation. I'll definitely check it out, as I have my, I would say, still small book library. I prefer hard copy books over online books. But and again, I will mention my parents. Whenever I was traveling since the very young age, uh, instead of I don't know, going shopping and buying clothes or whatever, I was buying books. And I can recall we were students still, and we were on a excursion around Europe, and I came back with a half suitcase full of books. It was so heavy, and my mother was, "Wow, what are you doing, kid?" So I'm doing that even today. And but my highly appreciating those books that are personally signed by the authors. And just recently, 2 weeks ago, I got from Gary Shapiro, Pivot or Die, personally signed book, and it was a great honor meeting him in person, having a wonderful discussion. It was during the SES Unveiled conference where I was one of the keynote speakers in Amsterdam, and somehow I cannot point it out only one or several books. Uh, I
Yeah.
was taking notes or key takeaways from each and every book, but I also remember Girl Boss. This was one of the first books I read when I started my career from Sofia Amoruso. But nowadays, I very much correlate to the business style, the managerial style, the leadership style of Indra Nooyi, the chairman and the CEO of PepsiCo. She got retired now. Maybe you know her story, but she was an immigrant from India in United States, and she did an amazing career, I believe, for 12 years in PepsiCo or so. And but also other books, for example, Boundless. Last year I was blown away by this book from Val Afshar and Henry King. And again, I personally met Vala. He's a chief digital officer at Salesforce, and I met him again one of the conferences, Valencia Digital Summit, where I was a keynote speaker.
I wanted to ask you if it's okay about you mentioned your keynote speakers
Mhm,
for multiple
mhm,
events, um, and I think that public speaking is such an important skill, whether it's just speaking in a very small kind of
mhm,
audience within your work team
mhm.
or on stages. Can you maybe share with our listeners here how can you get to practice and get kind of speaking engagement? Doesn't have to be keynote, but even like smaller, so you can practicing. This is something also that scares the hell a lot of women. How can you start practice? Because this is like I believe is very very important skills that you need to develop in order to grow.
Yes, and I believe it's a continuous development of this skill. It's not that you are born for the stage, or
Hmm.
if I'm good today, I will be also good tomorrow. Again, a lot of hard work behind, a lot of preparations. And as I already explained how I started my career step by step, this was also a step by step approach. First, in a smaller group, whether in my working environment, presenting or teaching before a smaller group of team members, couple of them, then a dozen of them, then then a bigger and bigger group. And yes, now it's easier. I cannot say that it's 100% easy for me, but it's easier. And I I always want to have that natural aspect when I speak, even if you make a mistake, even if you laugh. But it's important for me always, doesn't matter the topic, to speak from a personal experience. It's the way I lead by example. It's the way I mentor by example. And also when I speak on those conferences, events, also webinars, online events, I always wanted or putting my personal experiences, either from personal life or uh, professional life, because it's the only way that the rest of the audience can either correlate or learn, so they do not make the same mistakes, or to learn from my challenges and how I overcome those challenges, because the theory is there, right? It's on internet. You can read everything from the theory perspective, but the experience is the one that values most, if you ask me.
For sure, and I think that also people more relate to stories.
Hmm.
It makes things more interesting when you actually share a story rather than you tell someone, "Oh, I'm going to teach you how to do XYZ," and you just lecture them like a bunch of theories, rather than you share a personal experience, and through the experience you kind of share what you've done
Yeah,
and how it worked for you. It makes it more engaging.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I said that natural thing for the audience and for the rest of the person. Doesn't matter if it's a sole person, a mentee, right? That I'm mentoring or giving a keynote presentation to a bigger audience, then that connection will only be stronger if you share your personal experience in a natural way again.
For sure. And also, congratulations, you've been named Europe 40 under 40 top business leaders. So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that.
Thank you so much, Limor. Appreciate it. And again, I will start with the visualization. Back then, when I was a fellow, Forbes 30 under 30, when I got the invitation for the fellowship program, and when I entered that network or community, I was admiring those people. And I always wanted to see myself being part of those awardees or honorees. And I, I'm always a realistic person, or I tend to be realistic, especially to myself and my capabilities and what I can and what I cannot. Again, to I want always to earn it. It's nothing gifted to me in my life, and I knew back then that it's I'm not ready today. So after many years, um, I said, okay, maybe now it's the right time to even be part of or trying to be part of that community. And it's an invitation only, just like Forbes, being executive member of Forbes Business Council is an invitation only. But going back to the 40 under 40 top business leader in Europe, you need to tick all the boxes that they are asking for. So I, again, if I make a retrospection to my career, 3 years ago, I wasn't there. Or 2.5 years ago, I wasn't there because I didn't succeed 3 years ago being part of 40 under 40 top business community in Europe. And the day came and I was so excited, so happy. I cannot hide my excitement, my gratefulness, and okay, it's always okay. I achieved this. I'm so happy. And now, again, 2 days, that excitement stays. And then, okay, what's the next goal? I'm going to start working on my next goal and where I can see myself achieving even a higher achievement within my career. But it's not, again, it's not about the award itself, the statue, or the recognition, written recognition that I'm receiving, or I don't know, a diploma or a certificate that I'm getting. It's about the growth, how I feel more powerful uh, after that. And that is
Mm-hmm.
something that, of course, it's opening even a bigger door for me in the world, right? Either in a professional environment, in a personal environment, growing my network that way. But it's giving me also a confidence boost as well as knowledge. And I always tend to teach my mentees, especially when they're in their younger ages or starting their career, your knowledge and your experience, you own it. No one can take it from you. So there is somehow a key advantage, I would say, or the key point to each and every individual, right? The book that you read, the certificate, the seminar, the I don't know, the course that you took, the knowledge that you gained, it's yours and solely yours. And if you put on top of that the experience, which for me it's crucial, then it's I would say, an unbreakable package that no one can get it from you. Know your parents, know your families, know your partner or team members or even your boss, etc. So the more you mm, the more you uh, thrive learning and being more knowledgeable, but again, not mostly or solely in a conventional way, uh, and the more experience you gain through accepting or embracing those challenges and opportunities, the stronger, wiser, and more experienced you're becoming, and you will be ready out there for the fearless environment, either in tech, as I am, as a woman in tech, or in each and every other sector or industry.
Incredible. You gain so much wisdom and inspiration, Ivana. Thank you so much. And before we go, how can our listeners find you?
Oh, maybe that's the most difficult question, because even my family or closest loved ones are asking me, okay, where are you now? In which part of the world? Which conference? Or you're running a marathon now? Because I'm everywhere, but I'm happy, as you see, Limor. Uh, Somehow it's all about juggling priorities, I would say. There are people that want to or like to sleep more. There are people that, have their own priorities. But I tend to prioritize my timing uh, to meditate, to do some sports, to learn a lot, as I said, on a daily basis, because with this Gen AI era now, it's crucial, it's inevitable to stay ahead. So it's not that, okay, I just finished a woman in leadership course at European Business University of Luxembourg, or I got a new scholarship for Queen's University Smith School of Business in Canada, a strategic execution, or the we haven't touched base the many scholarships I got along the way.
Yeah.
But again, it's not the formal education. It's inevitable to learn, to study, or to read on a daily basis. Podcasts, books, as we said, being part of those communities, conferences, uh, share the knowledge, because otherwise the diploma or the certificate is nothing if you don't have that knowledge. And again, I will get back to Indra Nui. She is almost 70 years old, strong woman, and she was, again, PepsiCo, not tech industry. But she just said one of her interviews, I now finishing online courses for Gen AI, large language models, you name it, big data, deep learning, responsible AI, and whatnot, because it's important for us leaders or decision makers to to be knowledgeable, because otherwise we will be somehow, the competition is there, but it's not always a competition. Today, with this Gen AI era, or the fast-paced environment we live in, every company will be a tech company, if you will. Patrick Doyle, the CEO of Domino's Pizza, he said, and I will quote him: "We're a tech company that sells pizza." So, uh, and again, one of my keynote speeches, I said, the future of leadership is AI enabled, not AI dominated, because it's really important for each and every organization to enable, to adopt these new technologies, so to stay ahead of the competition, and actually to take the advantages of such a technologies that we are facing today. So yes, for your audience, which is a huge audience, and you have such a great podcast, Limor, and again, it's a great honor for me being part of it. Thank you so much for the invitation. Ivana Nikolik, I'm constantly on my LinkedIn profile. Uh, I also tend to have my Instagram profile, which is a closed one, only for a closed circle, because I love photography, I love music, I love to travel. Uh, and they can absolutely find me on those international conferences, either as a speaker or a panelist or just being part of that community. And just to mention the upcoming conferences, next week I'm going to Barcelona. It's STEM Women Congress, invited as a speaker. Then end of November in Berlin, it is a Femtech conference, Women in Tech EMEA Congress. After that, actually, I was so excited to be invited at AI Dev World in Santa Clara in California, February next year. And you know, Santa Clara is a home base of NVIDIA, of Intel, of Palo Alto. So great excitement, and I'm very much looking forward to the next achievements. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ivana. It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
Likewise, thank you so much, and I wish you the best and continued success with your podcast, Limor.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed the episode with Ivana. Before you go, I have some exciting news for you. So I have an exciting episode coming up next week with Merve Hokamp, and she is an executive coach. Merve is originally from Istanbul, and she lived globally. I mean, she studied in France, the US, and Singapore, and she lives in Dublin 20 years and counting, according to what she says. And we talked about a lot of topics that I think are going to resonate with you, about negotiation tips, about how to move to management without having a prior management experience, and a lot of other things that I think are going to support you in your journey. One powerful negotiation tip I can share with you. There is a 10 no's exercise that designed to make rejection less scary and help you ask for what you want. She also talks about how she moved into management at Google without prior experience. And trust me, all the insights she shares can transform how you approach your career. So if you don't want to miss this episode, I really encourage you to subscribe to my podcast and to my newsletter, which is on my website, limorbergman.com/newsletter. So you never miss an episode and never miss any leadership insights that I share weekly. And if you like this episode with Ivana, share it with anyone you feel it's going to be valuable for. I want to thank you so much and wish you a wonderful day.